Hey everybody, welcome to my live stream. This is my SCA helmet that I used to wear. I fought like 4 wars with this. I haven't had this on in a long time. Fought many wars with that in the SCA, Society of Creative Anachronism. Whew, that was fun. Okay, let's see. It looks like my live stream is a little bit laggy here. We need some light, actually. Let me turn some lights on. Hey, welcome to the Three Orcs channel. This is my second live stream for the weekly update for the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign, the Verbobonc campaign guide 576 common year. I figured I'd do a live stream every week to catch everybody up to date on the progress of the project so far. I realize I do a lot of work daily, and it's hard for everybody to keep up with the progress of all the articles because I complete like 5 to 6 articles a day. That's a lot. I know that a lot of people work for a living, and I focus on this 5-6 hours a day. I know not everybody can keep up with it. So I felt like instead of forcing people to go onto the World Anvil website to see what I've done so far, or to be logged into Three Orcs Discord channel all the time, every time I do some artwork or I create an article, I actually post it on Three Orcs, and I give people the opportunity to collaborate, comment, and talk about these articles as I'm developing them. Because I do have a lot of questions. I ask my Greyhawk experts on my Discord channel what they think before I finalize it. What's great about World Anvil is I can edit it at any time. So if somebody eventually gets around to making a comment about a particular article, I can go back and edit it, no problem. It's a real problem when I'm developing an actual module for publication on the Dungeon Masters Guild. They're purchasing a published product, and it needs to be done. You know, I can't just email them later and say, yeah, page 32, I changed some things about the end. So here's a new update. So I have to be very careful when I create that finished product. This is just a weekly update of what I've been doing all week. And so it's best for me just to add text on Discord. I link it on Discord for everybody to say, hey, I did this, it's done. So I felt like a weekly live update. That way it gives you guys the opportunity to ask me questions. We can talk about not only these locations and NPCs and organizations, but also your campaigns. If you have questions about what your group is up to and where they're at in the campaign, I can give you some advice on what to use, you know, in that location and those NPCs in the plot. You know, not only of the Temple of Elemental Evil module, but there's a lot of other sub quests and missions out there in the area, because this is the epic version of the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. It's not just running the module from the pages. Now, you can run it that way if you like many DMs have done in the past over the decades, but it doesn't do the module justice. It's not how Gary Gygax envisioned it. You know, when he first originally wrote the module, he had 1,000 pages. And there's no way he can publish that many. And he didn't give all his notes to Frank Mencher when Frank took over the project to write the module. Some things were subtly changed, like he got rid of Loth, big example, because they're supposed to connect to the G series, the Giant series, the Drow series, and the Queen of Spiders, the Q1 series. And I follow the investigation, all the work done by Joseph Locke of Greyhawk Grognard, where he wrote the T0 module, the introduction to the T1. He also wrote the T5 module, which adds a 5th level to the dungeon. That's where the shrine for the Elder Elemental God is. There's no more Thursden because it did not work. That's a shoehorn fix. It caused a major problem in the campaign. And then he wrote the Q2 module, which kind of connects this all together. So it all makes sense. And that's what I'm going with. I'm running this campaign in the original timeline. The 576 common year is the default timeline for the box set for the Temple of for the World of Greyhawk. But 578 is the official timeline for running the Temple of Elemental Evil. And so that means all articles have to be referenced to that timeline. But I'm using all these Living Greyhawk modules to fill and flush out the area, just like the Village of Hommlet is. The Village of Hommlet's done. It was done in the T1 module. I expanded it, of course, and a couple other people throughout the years did it too. But it's on my World Anvil website with the interactive map, which is above and beyond anything anybody's ever done. So you can actually run it from the World Anvil website for your players. But all the other villages in the area, this is a sandbox campaign, so they're all fully flushed out, just like the Village of Hommlet is. what's done is Sheernab, Ostverk, Wick, Etterboke, the city of Verbobonc, which is massive, is done. And right now I'm halfway through the Twilight Falls. Twilight Falls is a little more than 10 miles northeast of Nulb. And we also have somebody else working on Taymouth. I've got some of Mole done. And I'm planning to go further into the Gnarley Forest and get the 4 elven clans done. The dragon is done, which is I just added yesterday. That's in the Gnarley Forest. And I was planning to move into the Wild Coast and the City of Divers. That's all within the campaign area of the Temple of Elemental Evil. You can start your players from anywhere. You can start them in the Wild Coast, and they'll end up eventually to the Temple of Elemental Evil. You can start them in Divers. You can start them in the City of Verbobonc. That's where I start all my campaigns at. You can start them anywhere within like 500 miles. And that's the purpose of this project, to fully flush out like no other campaign's ever done before. You will find no campaign that's ever been made, published before, that has this much detail in the campaign world. And so this right now is just an update of what I did this week. Let's see if anybody joined us. I got a couple of people watching. Hey, John. It looks like John joined us. There we go. There's John. He said good evening. I added this little feature to my stream where I can pop up people's comments on the channel here. John is a very experienced dungeon master for Greyhawk, and I met him like 5-6 years ago running Greyhawk in the Wild Forest on Fantasy Grounds. I played in his game, and it got halted because of scheduling conflicts. Something was going on. I think he had family problems or something was going on at that time. It was delayed for 3 or 4 months. I got sidetracked and I didn't return. But he's a fantastic dungeon master and he really knows his stuff about Greyhawk. So he's joined us here. A new guest also joined us. I don't know his name, but he's a new guest. Thank you for joining. So if you guys have any questions, by all means ask, and I'll answer them as soon as I notice it on the screen. Let's go to a different screen. I'm going to share the World Anvil website. I'll go over what I've done all week. Let's see. There we go. See how long it took me? No time at all. Oh, by the way, I made this campaign guide plan here. Now, this is just an article I wrote. Let's see what John had to say here. Good. So John B said, do you Steam your D&D game on here? People have asked me that before. The problem is there's a couple problems. One, it distracts from the game. And watching somebody play D&D is boring. The only way it's not boring if it's a high production value. Kind of like that one channel. They're all actors, so they're all mic'd. They all have a camera on them. They're all lit, and they're actors, and they role play for the camera. And then of course they go in later and edit all that dead stuff out. You never see them look up rules. Those guys do live streaming. Those guys are pretty good. They're normal players. They're not actors, and it's fairly interesting to watch them play. Especially if you want to use, the case use of watching them to learn how to play the game, like they play old school essentials. And if you want to learn how to play, how it works, you can watch them play. And they got like 30 episodes of one campaign or another. I think they got like 3 or 4 seasons now. And it's a big production. It's a lot of work. Another problem, the most important problem, they all want to be on camera. They have to. They're going to want to be on camera. I don't know any players in any of my groups that ever want to be on camera. There's no way. It's not going to happen. They're just not going to want to do it. You're just going to see dead icons on the screen. And that's no fun. I don't think they even want to do that, to tell you the truth. Not all players are the best role players. They're kind of one-dimensional and not very eloquent. So you really don't want to see them play either. It's up to me as a dungeon master to, bring it out of them, to encourage them, to get them to role play more. And it's ongoing getting them to do it thing. It's a lot of effort. It's really hard to find 4 or 5 really excellent players to go on camera to live stream. So John B says that is fake DD and that never shows dice rolls. Yeah, you never see the dice rolls. I can't remember. I haven't watched them in a while. But John D said he's retired just like I am. Isn't that great? You can work on this every day. All these people in my Discord, they all work for a living. I hate it. In the middle of the day, I'm always asking them questions, and it's like crickets until one of them pops up. He says, Saturday evening, Temple of Elemental Evil game going on. Party ambushed at the abandoned farmstead by remnants of the earth, air, and water temples. Good times. Nice set-piece battle. Yeah. So you looks like you're abandoned just outside the temple near where all the farmsteads are. John's running his campaign based off years of putting his together. I don't think he's really using any of my material on World Anvil. He does run a very experienced and in-depth campaign. So that's great that you're still running it. It's hard to find players for a serious campaign. And that's the thing. You got all these DMs out there that have opinions on D&D. You know, how to run it. You got DMs that want to ab-lib, just run it off the cuff. Don't make any plans. Don't prepare. And you're talking about different kind of games. You're talking, I'm talking about an epic campaign, sandbox campaign. An epic campaign, a full campaign, takes a lot of preparation and effort to put it together. These other games I noticed, these DMs that run it off the cuff, they're playing pretty much limited scope campaigns, not very grand. Sometimes it's goofy, sometimes it's not. The depth is kind of there, but it depends on the DM. But usually I find it's not. It's kind of superficial. Some DMs are good at it, and others aren't. I used to work with TSR, and my job was to recruit Dungeon Masters and train them. A long time ago. I was trying to teach them to do that, to role play while running the game, even in combat. Everybody has their likes. You got a lot of different kind of players. So you got the kind of players that like to play board games, create characters, plan out their character sheet until 20th level, and mid-max everything. And then you got other role players, which is I encourage. That's why I like new players that role play off the cuff. They don't really look at their character sheet to find out what they can do. They just role play and run with it. They're in character. And that's the kind of players I like. But I also want to run this full campaign. When I was running old school essentials like Hole in the Oak and Incandescent Grottos, those are perfect, immediately engaged adventures. I mean, you're right there at a dungeon, and you're immediately engaged, and you're exploring this dungeon. It's a short mini campaign. And this is a great way to vet players, to find out what kind of player they are, to find out if they're the kind of player that's going to enjoy an epic, involved campaign with a lot of lore, a lot of background, a lot of character development, things like that. So John B said I do it. Well, if you provide your link, John, I'd like to see your live stream. I know that it's a lot of effort and work, but you have to have the players that agree to do it anyway. And that's the big problem right there. I don't have that. So I wrote this, let's see, where is it? This article here. Let's see, I haven't updated it in a couple of weeks. Got two screens here, sorry. So 3 Orcs has been assigned to all these villages here, and they're hyperlinked too. You can actually go there and click on it and go to that location, that city, that town, and read it, and all the locations in it, and all the organizations, and all the NPCs. So on the right-hand side, this is status. And so we go down to Rhinehurst. Randy Blair is one of our 3 Orcs members. He's doing Rhinehurst, Woodstock, and Glory for the last 8 months. I wish he could finish it. He says good stuff takes time. Littleborough, I did 5 or 6 locations there. DM was running his players through there, and he needed this. And so I tackled it really quick, but I needed to get to Nulb at the time. Nulb is much more important. I did a side trip, and I did Littleborough for him. Desuits Ford, Gallows Corner, and Anshan. Emerdy and Anshan are 2 small little thorps I created myself, because I saw a need for that in the campaign world. Little tiny settlements. It's along the Fens of Tor. Gallows Corner and Desuits Ford is done on my private site. I have to rewrite it. I have over 15 articles done in the last 7 years on my private website, but they all have to be rewritten, and new artwork has to be done for them. Not only rewritten to look better, but to use the existing lore of the new campaign website, so it all ties together. So it's a lot of work. Pending locations here. Good. I don't have anybody to do these yet. I'm trying to find Dungeon Masters to go ahead and at least send me an article, and I can rewrite it for the World Anvil website. Tristane, Hologon is another member, and he wants to do Tristane and Eglath, Oakham, and Themouth. I did the first page of Themouth, the main page, to get them kickstarted. Another Dungeon Master volunteered to write that one. He's a writer. Can't remember the name, but he hasn't done it yet. I did start that off. I don't have anybody for these yet. Not yet. Twilight Falls in the middle of... Halagon sent me all those articles for Twilight Falls. So the thing about a lot of these Dungeon Masters, they run their campaigns in 594 Common Year and up, and so a lot of their articles are written for Living Greyhawk stuff after that timeline. And so what I've been doing lately is I do it before and after in the article. So I make sure I show you in the article what happens by the time it's 576, and then what happens after. Gnarley Forest. Okay, there's a big hole in the campaign. Huge hole. Right in the middle of the Gnarley Forest. Right dead center. Nothing. Not even Living Greyhawk did anything. They got 4 short little paragraphs of what those clans are like, which is not good. Because we have players that want to play an elf in a campaign. What places are you going to come from as an elf? You can be an elf from an elf family from the city of Verbobonc. You can do that because there is the Elven Quarter. You can also be from Selene to the south. What other choices do you have? Well, you don't want a background from someplace too far away because then you do a lot of shoehorning and hand waving, and you really can't return there in the campaign for training, for information, for help, stuff like that. So these 4 clans are kind of xenophobic. There's not even half-elves there. If you're a half-elf, you're not allowed to live there. They'll kick you out. And that's why there's a lot of half-elves in Ostfirk and some of those towns in the area. That's the real big reason right there. Because they have these love affairs. Like there's a trader shop in Ostfirk, and she's half-elf. And I think her mother was from Clan Meldorin. You know the story. And that story is in that article and her NPC. So you can roleplay that. I need somebody to write those up. I hope Halagon can do that because he wrote up the Selene stuff. He used to write for Dragon Magazine, Dungeon Magazine, Live Greyhawk. And Numberul, all these need to be done. Those are in the Wild Coast, some of these. Organizations. I wrote the Dwarves of the Gnarley Forest, the Fairy Folk, Gnomes, Swanmay, and the Woodsman. Woodsman's done. I need to update that. I already did that. Greenway Valley. These are the small towns in Greenway Valley. Oh, I did Kron. I need to update this. Kron's done. But it's only 6 locations. I don't think anybody's going to stop there very often. Then these are the organizations I did. And here's Divers. So Divers really needs to be done. I got the front page of Divers done. Let's see what John had to say. Did you buy Goodman Game Book of Temple of Elemental Evil? Yeah. Let's see. My room is a mess. I need to clean this up. I'm so busy working on these projects that I just don't have time. I need to do my backyard and clean up my garage. Yeah, I have them. A couple of problems with this. One, there's no PDFs, which is huge. You have to have PDFs these days, especially if you're going to run your game online. You got to have a PDF, without a doubt. If you're running at Fantasy Grounds or something. I think Fantasy Grounds, I don't know if they have you can buy this on Fantasy Grounds. I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a while. The artwork is pretty cool. It's old school, old style, hand-drawn artwork. It's kind of quickly done. 8th grade art style. I like the maps. They're really cool, old school too. But the problem is added some content to the Temple of Elemental Evil module in the 5th edition version in the back of the book, or one of these books is 5th edition. It's very limited. They added some descriptions, but what was a real big letdown, big missed opportunity, is they didn't expand Nulb. It says that in the original module. Gary Gygax expected you to expand Nulb. He only gave you 4 locations as an example of what to do. He wanted you to fill it out just like the village of Hommlet was. They failed to do that. That was a big letdown. They also didn't fix the problem with the module. They kept it as is. They published the original material, but they should have fixed the problem in the 5th edition, their rewrite, their version of it. That's what Joseph Block did. Greyhawk Ragnard. He fixed the module. That's why you wrote the T0 module and the T5 module, where they added a 5th level below the temple and added that shrine to the Elder Elemental God, which is supposed to be there. So whoever wrote this, Chris Doyle, Rick Moffitt and Tim Walzinski. You know, these guys are talented. They do good work, but I don't think they really did their research with the Temple of Elemental Evil. They didn't go that deep. And that's a very big disappointment. I got some nuggets from it, from my campaign, but truthfully, there wasn't a lot of things I found useful in these books. I can't even use the artwork because they're copyrighted. What do you think about that? So let's get out of this thing. Wild Coast. There's the Wild Coast. Isn't Bright Tower Keep a module? Most of these locations came into being from the Living Greyhawk modules. There's thousands of modules written between the year 2000 and 2008 when Greyhawk was it. Greyhawk was the official campaign world for D&D. And the Living Greyhawk, the triads of the different areas, and the Dungeon Masters wrote many modules for the campaign setting. And they only ran these campaign adventures at conventions or game stores. You could not get these modules. They're not published. They're not publicly available. You only get a copy of it if you're running it. So don't ask. I don't have copies for you. I can't give them away. It's copyright. It would get in trouble for that. And you can't find a website that has them either. You could try looking, but I haven't found any. There used to be a website that had all this stuff, but they took it down. I'm in communication with these people, the triad and the writers and authors, and that's where my campaign is derived from. And so they're giving me permission and helping me create this project. The problem with these different modules, they weren't always consistent. They got a lot of facts wrong. They had their own ideas about it. They sometimes contradicted each other, and it was a big problem. And I've been working on this for 7 years, trying to get all these modules and figure them out. Like where the border is between the barony of Osbury and Molinius. Good luck figuring that out. The map that they do have out there is in 594 Common Year, after the fact, after they got married or you got her lands or something. So anyway, that's where these locations came from, those modules. Another thing about these locations, very limited information about each of these. Safeton was well developed. It had a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of articles for Safeton. But some of these places only have a paragraph. Mole had only a paragraph. Sheer Knob. And look at my Sheer Knob article. My Sheer Knob article is huge. It's like 26 locations in it and NPCs and organizations. And that's what I do. I expand it like you should, like the Village of Hommlet was. You know, that argument about Dungeon Masters, you don't have to do all of this work. I know. And also, the box set of Greyhawk. You don't have to do all that work. Why create a campaign world? Somebody did it for you, so you can use it. Where, you know, what they're saying is they're not doing it themselves for their campaign. It's too much work. But if you have another person doing it for you, it's there for your use if you need it, which is awesome. So anyway, this is here for you guys to look at. It's like a status report. Let's get out of here and go back to what's been going on. Let's see, edit article. I can go here. Let's try this. Go there. You can see all that. I'm going to go full screen. See what happens here. I think that looks good. Okay, good. All right, so this is what my World Anvil looks when I'm working on it. This is my edit screen. So I can see what I did this week. Start at the bottom. Twilight Falls. So this is all the Twilight Falls articles I wrote. Let's see if this even pops up. Yeah, John D said, love the creativity drive, the great DMs. Thank you. Twilight Falls. I did 13 locations plus the Falls of Twilight. That's like the 14th location. That's as far as I got in Twilight Falls, but I had to finish up the Lizardman Village map. I kind of stopped here for now, and I need to get that Nulb module put out for the DMs Guild. I've been dragging on that, so I halted on development of Twilight Falls for now. Okay, you guys can hear me. I updated the Gnarly Rangers, which is a huge update. I wonder if I can do this. Hey, that works. I can finally right-click. Can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can see my mouse. Yeah, you can see my mouse too. Okay, update the Gnarly Rangers. Huge update. I added this. So Hologant, again, he's a great resource. He sent me this map. What's interesting is he did good. He did really good with this. So he actually created regions of the Gnarley Forest for the Gnarly Rangers. These are like their zones that they're responsible for. Kron Woodlands, lower left-hand corner by Hommlet and Ostwerk. They deal a lot with House Delavu Manor in Ostwerk. There's a ranger assigned to that area. And some regular rangers. Night Ranger and Senior Ranger. Korasoth. Where's Korasoth at? Korasoth is in the middle somewhere. I have to zoom in more. Can you guys see that? Zoom up. And then the Tor Badlands is part of Twilight Falls, and Central Wildlands. Lake Verge is the Divers region. The Riverland. I think this wasn't really mentioned before, but I know that the Rangers from Thurandi come into this region too. So that's something I want to clarify with him. If you go north of the Velverdivers River, there's the Green Jerkins Rangers, and they're north in the Gold County. There's more of the Gnarly Forest up there, as you can see from the map. And then the Greyhawk Verge is far east in the Central Wildlands. And you see the 4 clans in the middle there. The Welk Borderlands has a lot of activity. And that ranger has his hands full. So on the right-hand side is the notable members. And if you scroll down more, is the notable Ranger Knights. I already had Wynn, but he wasn't a Knight Ranger. He's a Senior Ranger. Owen is a Ranger Knight. I'm trying to make this presentable as possible so it's quick to reference. Kron Woodlands. Then you have the Riverland and Lake Verge. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, you can. And you got Tor Badlands. Where's Annika? Annika, I should highlight that. I should bold it. Lake Verge. She's the guardian of Lake Verge. So Belgin, right here, he works with her in Lake Verge. I need to bold that and put it up front. So it's right next to her name. That's a good idea. On the right-hand side is the information about Junior Rangers, Gnarly Rangers, Senior Rangers, Ranger Knight. That's all from Living Greyhawk. It's good information to have if you need it. You know what's really important about this? If you have a player that's a Ranger Knight, Gnarly Ranger, because this is his organization. It's a lot of material for a player. And you can use this in the campaign. This is the relationships they have with all the elves, the druids, the woodsmen of the Gnarly. I updated the woodsmen of the Gnarly too. The woodsmen are the typical humans that live in the Gnarly Forest. They live off the woods, hunting and harvesting wood and stuff. Mounted borderers, they're along the borders, and the merchants that come through here. And they're being preyed upon by the brigands and bandits out of Nulb. So that's what I updated. I also updated the threats. I added the Second Rising of the Temple of Elemental Evil, the Jagged Fangs tribe, those are the Gnolls. The Howling Moon clan was his orc werewolves. Those are not mine. Those are Hologons from his campaign world. You know, I added it, but all the stuff I add here, you don't have to use in your campaign. You know, if you want to use it, it's a whole article for this with a lot of artwork too. If you think that's cool, use it in your campaign. The Crimson Reapers, that's the main brigand gang base of operations is in Nulb. They're from Divers. This is a huge element in the campaign. They're pivotal. They're the main boots on the ground humans in this campaign. That brigand gang. They are not the same bandits as what Larth has in the Moat House. The Iron Claw clan is the Bugbears. So there's Bugbears in the Moat House. There's Bugbears in the Temple of Elemental Evil, but they're unnamed. They have no information about them. They're very vague. So I gave you lore for that clan. That way the players in the campaign can track them down and go to their home base if you want to. It points out the location of where these recruits are coming from. Reinforcements. Which adds an element of strategy, tactics, and in the game. The White Rock clan. This is the hill giants you find in those Living Greyhawk modules. Like in Sheer Knob. And the raid upon the gnomes from Greenway Valley, there's a hill giant. Yeah, this is the clan they're from. In the Sheer Knob modules, the 3 of them, the gnomes beg the players in Village of Hommlet. One of the gnomes comes to the Village of Hommlet and begs them to help them. We're being raided by Blackthorn orcs. And orcs and hill giants. Please come help us. And they get down there and they get introduced to the clan head gnome. And they go, we think there's a outpost in the Crown Hills where these hill giants are. I even have a VTT map for this location. I updated this old article with new information. Let's go back to Annika, the new character I wrote up. She was written a couple days ago. Annika is badass. She is cool. She's a ranger knight, and she's got a lot of lore, a lot of background, a lot of information here. She's the young flame of the Gnarly. And I gave her dialogue and quotes and a stat block. I'm starting to do all my stat blocks in 5th edition because eventually I'll be creating modules for the Dungeon Masters Guild, and that's required. Any Dungeon Master can convert these stat blocks to any rule set you use. Originally, my idea for this whole website was to have minimal stat blocks to be used in any rule set. But I didn't want to cause more work for me later. So I just decided to do all 5th edition stat blocks, and there's a tool I use to convert them for me. So that's kind of cool. I have to keep an eye on it because sometimes it's not very accurate, and sometimes it changes the attributes. But wait a minute, that dexterity was supposed to be 16. Did you include that in the armor class? So I have to watch out for that. Anyway, she's an apprentice of the Great Druid. Another person I created, I need to create a link here, Namur, the Oak Fatherer. She was trained by him. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Look at that. She's a ranger commander. Everything you need to know about her is here. Below is a bunch of things that she's up to, including some plot points. And then on the right-hand side is all her basic stats. She's 25 years old, 5'7". And as you can see, I put organization links in here, like the Gnarly Rangers. Her race, she's mixed race. Her ethnicity is Oridin and Solus. This website only allows me to add 2. I can't add all 3 for mix. The Gnarley Forest location. I don't have an exact location for her yet. I should create an article for those zones on that map. I created her this week. She's awesome. She would be really good in the campaign. I think the players would like her a lot. I finished up this village of the lizard folk in the middle of the Fens of Tor, and then I finally finished the map. I did a whole video on this last week, so you can just watch that video. But the map is done. Real quick, on the right, that's all the locations I did. But I want to show you what I'm working on now. I started last night. Where is it? Photos. Is this it? Yeah. I came prepared. Oh, sorry. There you go. I came prepared. So I was messing around. Let's see if I can zoom in and stuff. Yeah, I can. Okay. I was messing around last night trying to get the layout. So these are all the locations that are keyed in the Lower Lizardman Village. As you can see, this bottom right hand number 22 is the exact same shape as the above ground canyon. I got that done. So I started sketching this out with Dungeon Draft. So these are the breeding dens. That's going to be a big complex there of pools. I'm going to add pools of water, submerged rooms and tunnels with water. I'm going to add slopes and stairs to make it more interesting. Some of the tunnels will only be 5 feet wide. Each square is 5 feet. I'll add some light coming from the outside here, spilling in. I don't think I should add too much light sources for torches and stuff because you guys will probably do that in your VTT map. I haven't connected these rooms yet, but these rooms are more ancient ruins, stone blocks. It won't be natural caves, so I'll have to use different graphics for that. I was just kind of placing them. So anyway, this is what I was working on last night. Big pain in the butt. This stuff takes forever. Okay, so let's get out of that. So that's what I was doing last night. Doop. What happened? I want to hide it. I thought I hid it. It's not hiding for some reason. Oh, I see why. I get it. Okay, so now let's go back. I want to move along. I don't like wasting people's time. Laris. Oh, you guys are going to love this. All right. So this is what I'm good at. It's this whole idea of how to run a good game. You know, I found out in the 80s, before I worked, with TSR, that players, they metagame, and they go melee around, killing stuff. They slaughter everything and loot it. And they want to know how many experience points they get. So with the bad guys, like pivotal bad guys, like a leader or something, a lot of Dungeon Masters get frustrated because it's really hard to really get the personality across of the bad guy or any expositions without interrupting the game. without the players feeling like they got artificially halted in the game for this to happen. I used to have seminars at conventions about how you can roleplay during melee rounds. Melee rounds a long time. You can say stuff and do other things. So what I do to help me roleplay as a dungeon master so I don't stutter, I write out dialogue. It's also good to have this so you can copy paste it if you're running this online and only one player hears this. Like 2 guards gossiping on guard duty, and the thief sneaks up and eavesdrops on them to find out what's going on and spies on them for the group. And so what I'll do is, I don't like static encounters. They're boring. Monsters aren't sitting around in their dungeon rooms waiting for the players to come in and kill them. There should be some kind of dramatic activity happening all the time. And so I write these out beforehand to help, because I don't want to slow the game down either. I want to make sure I do this quickly. Part of the role playing, I wrote out this dialogue here. Like dumps backpack. Larith guards will dump their backpacks out. If the players lose, they go after Larith, and they lose and surrender. They lost, which is 80% of the time. Most people try to do that module at first level. Because it's a no-win situation to take on Larith, unless you get really lucky with a sleep spell. So anyway, so the guards dump the backpacks, they examine the contents, and the Larith comments, "This is what's going to happen. You will be enslaved. Tell us everything about what you know of the Moat House and my associates. You will tell me everything. These friends of yours will be taken to a crypt, and I have great use for this meat. You, my friend, will be taken to the Fane of the Eye, to the temple." There's a lot of information given in this dialogue to help put ideas in the player's head, give them clues to build a campaign world. I have all this information here about questioning. If the players ask about the cabin in the woods, even during combat, I have dialogue written out, like the warrior priest shouting orders. Gaddis, get over here with them, bring them to their knees. When Lara's casting a darkness spell, I do it with flavor. And it actually, he calls upon the power of the Elder Elemental God. He says that out loud. So this is stuff that you can, tidbits of information you give the players during combat to get them to know more about the campaign world. It's information that's hard to give the players normally. He's casting the curse spell, and the description is spot on. Death in battle, the way he acts. His command spell, hold person, which is awesome, and a victory speech. So during victory speeches, like in every movie, they always tell the good guys the secret plans. You know, the bad guy always tells the 007 character, everything that's happening, his plans for conquering the planet for $1 million. I will launch the missile. What is that movie called? Oh, well. Okay, so anyway, I gave this to one of the dungeon masters, and he loved it, so he's going to use it. So I do a lot of that kind of stuff. This is the one I created during the week, too. This is the actual Great Druid. So this is new. So the Great Druid is not what you see in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. Let's see, scroll down here. Where's that druid at? Anyway, it's not that druid. It's not that girl druid. So in the 576 Common Year, this is the Great Druid. It took a lot of talk with all my guys in the Three Orcs channel to figure this out. This is him. He's the gnome druid. And that other lady takes over later in the campaign for the Living Greyhawk era. This took quite a bit of research to figure it out. Also, there's no information anywhere on the internet in any of the Living Greyhawk modules about this character except for one-liners. So we had to figure this all out. Make sure it fits with Greyhawk canon. Not just Living Greyhawk canon, but World of Greyhawk canon. And it does. It fits everything you need to know about them, including the Eurofland history. Everything you need to know about the Hateful Wars, the reformation of the Gnarly Rangers, the Grand Druid of the Flyness, all this stuff. His relationships with the Gnarly Rangers and the Druids. And they all have their own links, too. There's Annika, the new ranger, right there. Everything you need to know about him. Also, his secrets and his mysteries, too. And even a little thing about Vecna, because he goes back. His current concerns, he doesn't want to go. He's advising against the war with divers. He's warned the archdruids of the signs of the stars and roots. He helps young leaders rise like Annika. Dungeon Master notes, adventuring hooks. And of course, on the right-hand side is his stat block and artwork. I made sure his badger was big. You know, large badgers are 3 feet tall, by the way, 3 feet long. I had to Google that, how big a badger was. They're 2 to 3 feet long. Since it's a companion animal for a druid, I made him the largest I could. And I made him that size to fit the imagery of the picture, so it looks good. And down below is the companion, the badger stat block too. This stat block was like a dire badger. Oh, I screwed up. Sorry. That's a dire badger. It's the wrong stat block. It does not have 176 hit points. All right, I'm going to write this one down. I have to go back and edit. This is why I need you guys in 3 Orcs Discord. Next one was I updated the hunting cabin. I added the Sacred Stone Monastery. So this is the outpost for the Earth Temple. So Lara's Moat House is the outpost for the Greater Temple. Gygax said in many interviews and in the module that there are other outposts out there. And also he said that there should be outposts for each of the temples too. So this is an abandoned monastery. And I got this map and description from the Apocalypse module, 5th edition, Princes of the Apocalypse from Wizards of the Coast. The Earth Temple moved in. And they're running raids from here. It's only 5 miles to the west in the Crown Hills from the village of Hommlet. And guess what? The Gift of Beauty is here. So they have a Dungeon Master right now in the middle of running the Gift of Beauty. That's a huge pivotal quest in the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. It's massive. It's one of the most important quests there is. It's what's happening right now. And the Temple of Elemental Evil agents are behind it. So basically what happened was Queen Yolanda closed the borders to Selene. She's sick of everybody. After the Hateful Wars, she doesn't want anything to do with anybody. No more political ties. Of course, the Knights of Luna ignore her, and so does certain elves. They go off on their own, cross the borders, and get into trouble all the time. But as a country, she's closed the borders. So the Viscount of Verbobonc, the Druid, the clerics, I can't remember their name, bishops of Valuna. I forgot what they call the Valunian clerics there. Anyway, Valuna, Fiorandi, and the Druids of the Gnarley Forest, they all created these beautiful works of art, these gifts. And they put them all into a chest, beautifully carved with nature symbols all over it, drawings, pictures of landscapes and stuff made of ipwood, and the symbol of Rayo is on it. This gift of beauty was sent with a delegation of clerics of Rayo and other faiths to Selene. They're traveling south down the long road, past the village of Hommlet, to Ostfirk. They check in there, spend the night. Lord Delview, he's all happy about it. That's cool. This is all before the campaign starts. Just when they get within a mile of the border of Selene, they're ambushed. And the Gift of Beauty is gone, and most of the delegation has been slaughtered. All the guards, they're all dead. And so the mounted borderers and the rangers went to investigate to find out what happened. And a couple survivors. So they picked up the survivors, returned them. So there is a survivor at the mounted border station in Ostfirk. So the players, there's a bunch of quest plots to get them involved. One of them is, a couple of them are in the city of Verbobonc to start the campaign off. But there's also like Ranger Knight Win. If there's a ranger or druid in your group, he'll meet them somewhere, like around village of Hommlet, and he'll present the quest to them. I need you to go down there, find this Gift of Beauty, and return it. Deliver it to Selene or return it to the Ray. And so that's a way to get that going. It's huge. It's extremely important. So what happened was the Earth Elemental raided it with the help of the Gnolls from the Lortmill Mountains, the Jagged Fang clan. They took it, and they're holed up here. If the players are quick enough, you might be able to catch up with them before they get here, but I pretty much decided that it's going to be here by the time the players get involved, because they're so busy doing some other stuff. It takes them forever to get down to Ostfirk. These characters here on the right, they're not really Greyhawk. They're Forgotten Realms. I outlined the rooms here. They're all described, but it's not for Greyhawk. So if you were to use this place in your campaign, it has to be rewritten. It has to be written with Greyhawk lore. It has to be rekeyed. It has to be repopulated with Earth Temple agents, their guards and stuff, and also brigands and bandits. and some other cool creatures, like a bullet. I'm going to put a bullet in the courtyard. Maybe I'll have the leader here riding the bullet, fully armored. Just slaughter the party. So there really isn't a monk here. If you wanted to have a monk be in the temple, you can create any character you want. The reason I haven't done any of these modules yet is because I'm trying to build the foundation of this campaign. The building blocks, the foundation has to be done first. Then you can write these modules on top of it, because the locations and all the NPCs and all the organizations are done, the foundation, and then you can run these adventures and write these modules for it, the campaign. After I finish with Nulb and Twilight Falls, I'm going to start tackling some of these modules, because I got too many Dungeon Masters asking for them. I sent them what I have, because I really can't share them publicly. I shouldn't even share this, tell you the truth. I just did it temporarily. I should take it down. And then I help them in their private campaigns. I send them articles and give them suggestions of what to do to help them pull it off. Yeah, let me go ahead and take this offline. So how do I do that? Article. Well, let's see. Published. Draft mode. Sorry. Okay, so Earth Temple Raider Camp. Aha, you're going to like this. This is 100% mine. So, you don't have to use the monastery. You can use this too, or both. So, there is an Earth Temple Raider camp in the Cron Hills. The camp is run by, where is he? He's up top. The stat blocks below are generic. Where is he? Hey. Well, I really haven't. Okay, there he goes. I found it right here. Romog is a leader of the Earth Temple. He recruited Maris of the Earth Temple, the commander, the fighter, to organize raids to support the Earth Temple in the Viscounty, Cron Hills, and the Gnome area, the Greenway Valley. So he's been raiding the gnomes and human merchants. And I have artwork of the Earth Temple Raiders doing their thing. He has a companion, and that guy's really badass. Cadex Nightshade. Let's see if I can't pull him up. This is where the lightning bolt came from. When the players go to the ambush site, they'll see scars on the earth and trees burst asunder from lightning bolt. This is the guy that did it. So this is a lot of fun. So anyway, these two with a dozen or more bandits are at this camp. You can use any outdoor camp VTT map that you want. I need to place this on the map, but you can put it anywhere you want. Another thing I did was the lair. You're gonna love this. So the lair I did this week. I did a lot of work. I did a lot this week, didn't I? So this is a famous green dragon in the middle of the Gnarley Forest. It's part of the Living Greyhawk. And I have really hardcore background for this dragon. This isn't just a dragon. This is a major NPC in the campaign. I mean, this is a all-powerful, extremely effective character that takes on that shape. And she can also dress up. The players might encounter her at a tavern and not even know it. She's involved with a lot with the Gnarly Rangers, the Druids, the Elves, future encounters. The Green Serpent cult. She's got kobolds and goblins that worship her as the Green Mother. Another thing I did was I wrote some more dialogue for you guys. Flavor text. So this flavor text is what the adventurers perceive when they first get to the lair. And then I also added the initial dialogue to get you going when you first get there. This is just if the players get to the lair. So then that's the lair. So this is her. As you can see, I got more flavor text and stats for her too, and more information that you could use, and everything you need to know about her. So here we go. This character was for Living Greyhawk, so I went ahead and this is the example I'm showing you right here of before and after 576 Common Year. So in 587 Common Year, rumors that she appeared in northeast Fens of Tor. She's originally from the Welkwood, by the way, if you read all this. And back in the 576 Common Year, she actually moved back. She moved to the Gnarley Forest at that location. Now rumors are going around. Band of the Silver Spear is just an adventuring group that Hologot was running, you know, in 591 Common Year. I just left it there, just, I don't know, for information. You know, it's probably not going to have anything to do with your campaign, but it gives you an idea of what happened or what could happen. All right, next is Istis. I try to pull in a lot of things in the campaign to really expand the scope of this campaign, to give it a lot of meat. Now, Istis is the god of fate, and the priestess in the city of Verbobonc makes an appearance, takes one of the players aside, and this is whole speech here, full dialogue. So she takes him to the tent and gives him his reading, and actually gives him a prophecy. This prophecy is 100% related to the first module on the list, Global Thermonuclear War. No. The first module on the list, Noble Ambitions. So I start my campaigns off with Noble Ambitions from Living Greyhawks, the very first module. And Lady Eleanor recruits the players to retrieve the treasures of Osbury lost during the Battle of Emerald Meadows, during the war. And she found out this madman showed up at Osbury Manor, babbling some crazy stuff. Guess what? You'll never guess who this priest is. He's a priest, or part of the delegation to the gift of beauty. She wants them to go to this ancient temple in the Gnarley Forest at the edge of the Fens of Tor, and to go retrieve her lost treasures of Osbury. Return her the Jewel of Osbury and the Sword of Osbury. If they do, she's going to hate them. So anyway, after getting this quest, this Istis priestess shows up in the market square, takes her into his tent, and gives him this prophecy. A lot of things like this happen in the campaign. Just layers and layers. Sometimes the players get a little lost. That's why I write in-depth session reports. And I give 100 experience points rewards if they can prove they read it. Sometimes they're so lazy they don't do it. I also updated the Great Lizard King. This was done 2 weeks ago. The Great Lizard King is based on the I2 module, the Great Lizard King, Tomb of the Great Lizard King. This isn't the Great Lizard King. It's a different one. I talked about this in the last video, about the lizardman village in the Fens of Tor. So I went ahead and I updated the plot here. And it's a whole history. It goes back minus 3,000 Common Year. I forgot what I updated, but I did. I think the dragon. Yeah, that's right. One of the dungeon masters wanted a black dragon in the Fens of Tor. And I said, yeah, there's a black dragon guarding the tomb of the Great Lizard King in the Fens of Tor. It's an ancient site. The dragon has its own article and a name and everything. So it's going to be a big battle. There's going to be brigands from Nulb, the pirates of Nulb, the Earth Temple, the Water Temple, the Asians of the Viscounty of Verbobonc, because there's one that comes to the trade with the villagers, the lizardmen, and she's going to find out about it. Then there's the players. Who's going to get there first? And what's going to happen with that dragon? And who's going to plunder those great magic items and the tomb before anybody else does? The players better hope that the agents of the Temple of Elemental Evil don't get that stuff first. That's all I got to say. Because there's artifacts in there. And that'll be a huge benefit to the temple. So, anyway, that's what that's all about. Okay, I created new artwork. The top right hand was the old artwork, and I thought that looked too cartoony, so I made new artwork. The reason I did that is for the module for the Dungeon Masters Guild. I put that out there, an article on what I'm doing with the Dungeon Masters Guild, the Village of Nulb module. I didn't like that artwork, so I created a new one. I want to do a better job with the module because people are buying it. I'm doing a lot of rewriting and stuff, and I find myself writing more along the lines of Glenn Cook from the Black Company. I wrote a module for the Black Company back in 1991, and I ran that as a campaign. I really like that writing style. It's more militaristic and depressing. I know I did a lot more this week, but that's all I could remember doing, and that's on that list right there. So anybody have any questions before we wrap up my live stream for the night? You guys been quiet listening to me. Let's see, we haven't had any updates of chat since you guys asked that last question. My video's a little bit laggy, so I have to give you guys a chance to say something. But my plans for next week, that's right. So real quick to wrap this up, I'm working on the Dungeon Master Guild module for the Village of Nulb. I'm on location 3 right now. And there's 50 of them. This is going to be a massive module. I'm almost done with the Twilight Falls. That map of the lower level of the Lizardman village, that's going to take me a couple of weeks, depending how bored I get every night working on it. I'm trying to get together with Hologon to get those 4 clans done. The big hole in the middle of the Gnarley Forest. And, you know, and as soon as those clans are done, it's going to affect many other articles. You know, the leaders and their politics. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to all the other articles and update them. They have anything to do with the elves of the Gnarly. So that's a big deal. I definitely want to get that behind me. All right, let me check my stream. 2 watching. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up. This is my second one I've done, and it seemed to have gone well. All my tools are working, except for that bottom thing. But yeah, I got everything going, and I did what I said I was going to do, and I'm pretty happy with that. Well, if you guys like my live streams, want me to continue doing this every week, let me know. Right now, I see the main purpose of it is update everybody. It's, well, you know, our progress every week. If you want to get more involved in this campaign, you can come join the Patreon. Well, all my stuff is in general free on my Patreon, you know, the maps and articles and stuff, but more of the higher resolution versions of that stuff, you have to be a Patreon member. Also, you can join the 3 Orcs Discord to collaborate, listen, drop in and say hi, help us out with these articles, or give your opinion. You're more than welcome to join us, because all the Dungeon Masters on the 3 Orcs Discord channel are diehard Greyhawk Dungeon Masters, and these guys have a lot of experience with Greyhawk, and they're big fans. And you really enjoy talking to them. This is probably the most friendly and most fruitful and inspired Discord channel for any D&D channel you've ever been to. This one definitely has a lot of value, I noticed. And I've belonged to a lot of Discord channels over the last 7 years, and I was always disappointed. Some are dead or aren't very useful. We're very friendly, helpful, and always give advice freely. Thank you for joining my live stream. May your dice roll true, and I hope your players like your campaign as much as mine have. Have a good night.